Health Act.
As of 1960, in South Korea's age demographic, 42.3% aged 0 to 14 years. With the enactment and promulgation of the Education Act in December 1949, primary education became compulsory from June 1950, and the majority of school-aged children were enrolled in school. Schools became not only a convenient space for health interventions to be carried out on a large population, but also an important conduit through which they could be educated and internalized. In the 1950s, resource limitations meant that school health interventions were mainly supportive rather than direct. In 1951, the school physical examination regulations were enacted, with the aim of identifying the development and health status of students. Based on this regulation, physical fitness tests were implemented in 1958. As students are the potential labor force that will be responsible for Korea's economy in the future. The slogan, "Physical strength is the national strength," began to emerge. The school physical examination regulation, which was enacted as a Ministry of Education decree in 1951, implemented physical examinations for the purpose of detection of diseases and other defects in students' bodies, providing simple treatments, promoting health, and improving physical fitness. In 1967, the School Health Act was enacted and provided an important legal basis for today's school health initiatives. The Act borrowed heavily from Japan's School Health and Safety Act, which was enacted in 1958. The two laws had in common that they imposed the obligation on school principals to provide necessary tests and treatments for students, funded them from the Ministry of Education, appointed separate health staff in schools to do so, and mandated regular screening for key diseases like parasites and tuberculosis. As such, the medical system in post-liberation Korea was still heavily influenced by Japan. The bill, which aimed to streamline school education by protecting and promoting the health of students and teachers, called for not only physical examinations and disease prevention, as its title suggests, but also the promotion of a school environment for learning. Article 4 stipulated that environmental hygiene and food hygiene, including air pollution, ventilation, light, illumination, temperature and humidity, utensils, foods, beverages, water supply, sewage, toilet, and waste disposal should be properly maintained in schools, and that school environmental hygiene cleanup zones could be established to ensure that no unhygienic facilities or activities that could interfere with learning could take place in the vicinity of schools. The School Health Act also provided guidelines for the management of school health, and it was on the basis that the health record began to operate. Students were now required to complete routine immunizations in accordance with the provision of the Infectious Diseases Control Act in order to be admitted to school. With school-age pupils making up half of the population, the management of health records on pupils meant that the state had access to this vast health data. This diversification of school health duties created the need for specialized personnel to work in schools, and accordingly, primary schools were required to have one school doctor, one school pharmacist, and one school nurse for the reason. The specific staffing arrangements varied based on the size and needs of the school, but this allowed for the professionalization of school health to take place. From 1972, school health officers began to be recruited in earnest, creating a centralized system of management and support.
Physical examination and fitness.
The 1951 School Physical Examination Regulations consisted of a physique and constitutional examination to determine basic physical development and the presence of disease, and a physique test to determine athletic ability. The physique test included breathing capacity, running, jumping, throwing, carrying, and hanging, and were graded so that counseling, prevention, and treatment could be arranged in conjunction with competent health institutions if necessary. However, after several revisions, the physique tests were changed to physical fitness test in 1971, and the methods and grades were defined, so from 1972, a physical fitness was conducted as part of the high school entrance examination. The implementation of the physical fitness testing, which was aimed at strengthening national defense, had a number of side effects. For instance, the inclusion of long-distance running events did not take into account students' actual fitness and resulted in fatalities. This close link between national defense and physical fitness began to emerge in the late 1960s as the Cold War conflict between North and South Korea intensified. Already during the colonial period, the colonial government had required students to strengthen their fitness for military purposes under the system of total mobilization. The link between national capability and individual fitness was not new in Korea. In January 1968, 31 North Korean guerrillas infiltrated South Korea and entered the city of Seoul. Their purpose was to storm the Blue House. And this led to the creation of a reserve army and the question of strengthening national defense. Against this background, the militarization of schools and the question of physical fitness as a basis for this were intensified. In the midst of this, physical fitness tests became an important part of schooling. Additionally, fitness tests were included in high school and university entrance examinations to force students to take them. In 1972, the Seoul Board of Education issued a directive to complete fitness tests between May 1st and the end of June, when the summer heat began. In response, students were forced to run an 800-meter race despite protests from students. One student collapsed and died on the way to the hospital. This was a side effect of the coercive physical fitness program. In spite of the fainting and death of the students in the 1970s, the fitness tests continued to be enforced. They were promoted in the 1970s in the name of strengthening school physical education, with an emphasis on building national strength in the midst of the North-South Korean confrontation. There were some positive outcomes. While the expansion of physical education was supposed to improve the nation's physical fitness and became a doorway to expose students to daily sports, it also expanded the base of the sporting population. In practice, however, it became more of an entrance examination to gain access to upper-level school, with students' fitness levels being graded and factored into entrance examinations rather than actual physical fitness.